Republican congressman and House Armed Services Committee member Jim Banks. Congressman Banks, look, this is a president that doesn't want to go to war unnecessarily, and he doesn't want to engage in this kind of conflict. But Iran, they just keep sticking it to us over and over and over again. And it's almost as though they want to egg this president on. They want him to be in some kind of conflict, perhaps because they don't want him elected again. What's your take on it?
Well, Trish, it's great to be with you again, but I like to mix a couple of presidential metaphors. Go back to Teddy Roosevelt, who talked about carrying a big stick, and then fast forward to President Ronald Reagan, who talked about peace through strength. President Trump has adopted both of those metaphors very well in his now going on almost 3 years in this presidential term. And when it comes to Iran, that's exactly how President Trump has approached the situation with Iran, especially with a peace through strength mantra. The maximum pressure campaign of sanctions in Iran is working. That's why they're acting out in the way that they are, and we need to keep the pressure on.
I'd say, you know what, they pull this, you fire back with more and more sanctions. Or how about this, Congressman? What if you said, okay, you know what, the Saudis are our ally. We're not going to necessarily send troops over there, but maybe we won't stop Israel from doing it, because Israel, has kind of had to bite its tongue, so to speak, while dealing with the Iranians. I mean, what if we suddenly said, look, we could unleash the Israelis, and that is certainly a threat.
One way or another, Iran has hell to pay for their actions, and we need to hold them accountable. But the best thing that we can do moving forward is to continue the maximum pressure campaign, ratchet it up. The facts speak for themselves, Trish. The Iran economy has a negative 12% economic growth. If there was ever an economy that was in the tank, it's Iran's economy. 40% inflation. Their oil revenue is only 10% what it was before the sanctions went into effect. We need to keep doing what we're doing, and that's going to force Iran to come back to the table to negotiate a new deal with President Trump sometime in the future that would prevent them from pursuing nuclear weapons.
I can tell you what they're hoping for is that this president does not get 4 more years. It's exactly what they want, and they don't want to negotiate with him. They feel as though it wasn't fair because they had already signed a deal with President Obama, and they don't want to negotiate with him. And you may have some hardliners over there, Congressman, who might even be on a different page than Zarif or Rouhani, that want to see this kind of conflict, right? They like this conflict as much as it hurts their economy, because they subscribe to an entirely different way of thinking. And I just don't know how you can ever negotiate with that.
Well, I don't know either, and that's certainly what former Secretary of State John Kerry has advised the Iranians to do, to wait out this president. More and more, it looks like that's not going to happen. That's why why President Trump has to continue to do what he's doing. His peace through strength approach to Iran is working. It's going to force them over the brink at some point where they're going to have to change their ways.
All right, and then one other thing I want to get to: the president saying today that he won't comment on reports about North Korea sending him a letter inviting him to head over there. But given that Kim Jong-un has started launching missiles again, how should we be thinking about this? Is that him trying to get attention so he can get the president for a meeting?
The Kim Jong-un approach is always to do whatever he can to get more attention, to legitimize himself on the world stage. But this is really the same case as Iran, Trish. I mean, the president's approach with North Korea, walking away from a bad deal just as he has with China, just as he has with the Taliban, as he has with North Korea in the past. Kim Jong-un is begging for another opportunity to come back to the table with President Trump to negotiate a better deal, to relieve sanctions on North Korea, to legitimize himself on the world stage. President Trump, though, has proven time and time again negotiating from a position of strength, unlike President Obama, who always negotiated from a position of weakness.
You've got to be able to walk away. If you're not willing to walk away, then it's not a real negotiation. You can't actually achieve a real deal. Congressman Banks, thank you so much. We've got much more coming up.